Imagine holding a secret for 4.5 billion years, not in a book or a vault or some ancient scroll, but in a stone, floating silently in the dark, untouched, unseen, drifting in Jupiter's massive shadow. A stone that has seen the birth of planets, the firestorms of creation, the chaos of collisions, the silence that followed. And all this time, it has waited, quietly, for someone to come close enough to ask it what it remembers. Now, that moment has come. In the vast vacuum between Mars and Neptune, there is a strange convoy of ancient travelers. Thousands of asteroids, locked in a gravitational dance with Jupiter, pacing the giant like ghostly sentinels. They're called the Trojans, and unlike the ones from legend, these have no horses or war, but they do carry something just as valuable: memory. We've seen many asteroids before, scattered across the belt, buzzing near Earth, falling as meteors. But the Trojans are different. They're untouched, unchanged, suspended in an ancient pause. For all our telescopes and theories, we've never stood before one. Never seen the ridges on their backs, the shadows in their craters, or the quiet evidence of a solar system still becoming. But we will. When NASA launched the Lucy mission in 2021, it wasn't just sending a spacecraft, it was sending a question into the dark. What are we made of? Where did it all begin? Lucy is a journey not just across distance, but across time. And it doesn't chase just one answer. It chases many. 11 asteroids, 12 years, each flyby another whisper from the past. Some of those whispers we thought we already understood, until Lucy got close. In late 2023, Lucy approached a small, nondescript asteroid named Dinkinesh. It was supposed to be a calibration flyby, a dress rehearsal, a moment to check systems and fine-tune instruments before the real mission began. But space has a way of rewriting expectations. As Lucy closed in, Dinkinesh revealed something no one had seen before. It wasn't alone. Floating beside it was a second body, smaller, hidden in its shadow, a satellite. But not just any satellite, a contact binary. Two separate rocks, fused together, locked in an eternal embrace, like two dancers frozen mid-step. NASA named it Selam, meaning peace in Amharic. But there was nothing peaceful about what it represented. It was a collision, long ago, perhaps gentle, perhaps not, that somehow didn't destroy, but united. This was the first contact binary satellite ever directly observed, and it wasn't even supposed to be there. Think about that. In a solar system that's been studied for centuries, where every new mission is plotted down to the millimeter, Lucy stumbled onto something no one expected, something that had been hiding in plain sight. It was a reminder: space exploration isn't about confirming what we already know. It's about letting go of the map. And so the mission that had been quietly gaining speed suddenly had the world's attention. What else was out there waiting to be found? What other secrets had we mistaken for silence? Back on Earth, engineers and scientists scrambled to make sense of what they saw. Spectral data, shape models, motion analysis. But beyond the data was something more raw, more human. Wonder. The same wonder that drove us to the moon, that sent rovers to Mars, that makes a child look up at the night sky and whisper questions they don't yet have words for. Lucy kept going. By April 2025, she had flown past a second asteroid, Donald Johanson, bigger this time, stranger, a relic shaped by violence and time, 150 million years old with scars from ancient collisions carved into its crust. It wasn't just an object, it was a survivor. And again, Lucy brought back not just data, but story. A story of formation and fracture, of elements born in the cores of stars, shattered and flung into space, slowly gathering again into something solid, something real, something that, billions of years later, would cross paths with a spacecraft sent from a blue planet hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Donald Johanson wasn't a Trojan. He was a waypoint, a signpost. But he offered clues: his surface, his composition, his unexpected complexity. Each detail, a breadcrumb leading toward the greater mystery Lucy is chasing. Because Lucy's real targets, the ones she was born to visit, are still waiting. Somewhere far out beyond Mars, at the edge of what we can still reach, a fleet of ancient rocks orbits silently. Names taken from Greek legend: Eurybates, Polymele, Lucas, Orus, Patroclus, Menoetius. Names that soon will mean more than mythology. They will be faces, landscapes, maybe even puzzles we've never dreamed of. Lucy is headed toward them now. But this isn't a race. It's not a chase. It's something more sacred, a meeting, a reunion with parts of ourselves we've never known. In the stillness of the cosmic night, the Trojans keep circling, unaware of the tiny silent craft slipping closer with each passing day. They have waited billions of years. They can wait a little longer, but we can't wait forever. Because what Lucy finds out there won't just change what we know about Jupiter or asteroids or planetary formation. It may change how we understand Earth, life, ourselves. Lucy doesn't roar. She doesn't blaze across the sky like a shooting star. She whispers, a quiet traveler carried by gravity, patience, and human hope. Her path was drawn not in fire, but in faith, that through a dozen silent encounters with ancient strangers, we might finally learn where we come from. And so she sails. Between her and her Trojan targets lies a wilderness few have crossed. There are no road signs, no landmarks, just deep time, empty space, a silence so vast it becomes a presence of its own. Out here, nothing rushes. The cosmos moves to rhythms older than history, and Lucy must match its pace. Every adjustment, every slingshot past Earth, every correction of her course, each is a gentle nudge toward destiny. This mission, this quiet, long-haul pilgrimage, is not flashy. It doesn't bring the instant spectacle of a Mars landing or the drama of a comet impact. It asks something harder of us. It asks us to trust, to wait, to wonder, and wonder we must. Because when Lucy reaches her first Trojan in 2027, it won't just be a historic moment. It'll be the closest we've ever come to the original ingredients of our solar system. Still unbaked, still raw, still echoing the energy of creation itself. These aren't just rocks. These are witnesses. They watched as the sun ignited, bursting into brilliance. They heard the whispers of the gas giants as they shifted, danced, collided, and settled into their final positions. They felt the pull of Jupiter, the push of Saturn. They survived the chaos when Neptune was flung to the outer reaches and when Uranus lost its calm, tipped onto its side. These stones have memory, but memory fades, dust gathers, craters form. Without Lucy, they would remain mute, their stories locked behind a veil of distance and time. NASA didn't build Lucy just to visit. They built her to ask questions in the only language these asteroids understand: observation. Her instruments are like senses: eyes that can see in light and heat, ears that can hear through the Doppler shift of returning signals. And every piece of data she sends home becomes a page in a story we've been trying to write for millennia. A story about us. Because even now, after all our advances, after all our space telescopes and moonwalks and Martian selfies, we still don't really know how we got here. We guess, we simulate, we compare. But Lucy might actually tell us. If the Trojans are what we think they are, primordial, unaltered, diverse, then they're not just leftovers from planet building. They are the recipe. Different compositions, different colors, different reflections. Each one a test of our models. Each one a possibility that something we assumed might be wrong. Already we're seeing hints. The Trojan swarms, once assumed to be uniform, are anything but. Some are red, some are less red, some are reflective. Others are pitch dark. They contradict our expectations. They force us to ask harder questions. Where did they come from? Were they all born here in the cradle of Jupiter's gravity? Or were they gathered, one by one, from across the solar system, kidnapped by the giant's immense pull? And if that's true, then the Trojans are more than just artifacts. They're a collection, a gallery, a curated exhibit of what once was, held together by the quiet magnetism of one great planet. Lucy's job is to walk through that gallery, to document, to listen, to learn. And as she gets closer, we get more invested. We name the asteroids. We map their paths. We wonder what they'll look like up close. Will they be rugged, smooth, split open by ancient impacts? Will they have moons like Dinkinesh did? Will they have cracks where the sunlight seeps in? Or hidden caves of untouched material? Or something we can't even imagine? Because the truth is, for all our preparation, space keeps surprising us. Just when we think we've seen it all, it reveals something new, something quiet, something patient, something ancient. And we're reminded this universe is older than our language, older than our species, older than our dreams. But here we are, reaching out anyway. That's what Lucy is, a hand stretched across millions of kilometers saying, "We want to understand you." And perhaps in return, the Trojans will speak. They won't use words, but in their weight, in their spin, in their shape and shadow and composition, they'll tell us stories. Stories of fire and ice, of collisions and captures, of how a disk of dust became a planet, then another and another, of how water may have been delivered, of how the raw ingredients for life, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, may have ridden in on rocks like these. It's poetic in a way that these silent wanderers traveling with Jupiter for eons might hold the keys to Earth's liveliness, that something so cold could have carried the seeds of warmth, that ancient stones could be the reason we have oceans, clouds, and breath. So Lucy keeps going. Each kilometer she travels is another thread connecting us to that mystery, another heartbeat in a mission that's as much about philosophy as it is about physics. Who are we? What made us? What forces shaped our sky, our land, our bodies? The answers may lie not in equations, but in craters. Not in theories, but in trajectories. Not in guesses, but in glimpses. And Lucy, brave and silent, is giving us those glimpses, one asteroid at a time. In the quiet drift of space, there are no ticking clocks, no sunrise or sunset, no familiar rhythms to mark the passing of time. Out here, time is measured in orbits, in revolutions, in silence. And somewhere in that vast stillness, Lucy floats. Our question cast into the void, waiting for the cosmos to answer. It's strange, isn't it, to care so deeply about rocks, to spend years, money, human minds, and lifetimes to chase cold stones in the dark. And yet, there's something about these rocks, something deeply human. We name them. We study their faces. We long to know where they've been, because in knowing them, we hope to know ourselves. As Lucy closes in on the Trojan swarms, each flyby becomes more than data collection. It becomes intimacy, a first touch, a first look into something older than Earth's first breath. And one by one, they come into view. Eurybates, Polymele, Lucas, Orus, Patroclus, Menoetius. They were just names before. Now they are places, worlds, each with its own scars, its own secrets. Some spin slowly, like dancers in a dream. Others tumble wildly, as if still recovering from ancient violence. Some reflect light like old bones. Others absorb it like soot. Each one, a different voice in the symphony of beginnings. And still, the biggest questions remain. Will these Trojans confirm the Nice model of planetary migration? Will they tell us that Jupiter once leapt closer to the sun, scattering the early solar system like leaves in a storm? Or will they rewrite that history entirely, revealing a pattern we've never seen? Lucy isn't here to prove a theory. She's here to listen. Already, the differences between the Greek and Trojan camps challenge our assumptions. For years, scientists believed both swarms would be similar, cut from the same cloth, shaped by the same forces. But Lucy's eyes tell a different story. These rocks are not siblings. They are strangers. And that strangeness is a clue. Maybe the Trojans didn't form near Jupiter. Maybe they were captured from across the solar system. Maybe each one comes from a different corner of that chaotic ancient disk, like letters gathered from long-lost friends. And if that's true, then Lucy isn't just exploring Jupiter's backyard. She's walking through the solar system's scrapbook. Each crater she maps, each spectrum she records, Each gravitational tug she measures. All of it paints a picture, not of one time or one place, but of many. A mosaic of what once was. And in that mosaic, maybe we find something shocking. Maybe we find out that the ingredients for life weren't unique to Earth. Maybe carbon, water, organics. Maybe they were everywhere, riding inside these rocks, waiting for the right planet to catch them, waiting to begin. It's not impossible. After all, Earth itself may have been seeded by asteroids just like these. Bombardments that brought water to dry land, molecules that built the first cells. Maybe everything we are began as stardust hitching a ride on a rock like Salam. And now, billions of years later, we've built a machine to go back and say thank you. Think about that. That something we created, something with wires and wings and solar arrays, can carry our wonders so far. That it can sail through the darkness, not for riches, not for conquest, but for understanding, for remembrance. Lucy carries no crew, no flag, no anthem. But she carries something more powerful, curiosity. And when she finishes her journey in 2033, she will have done something no spacecraft has done before. She will have visited both Trojan camps, traced the fingerprints of time, captured whispers from the dawn. But her mission won't end when the last asteroid fades behind her. It will just begin, because the data she brings back, those gigabytes of silence, texture, and truth, will ripple through decades, through classrooms, through research labs, through the minds of children who were born after her launch, but will grow up chasing her discoveries. Lucy is a gift from one generation to the next, a message in a bottle, floating through space saying, "We were here, we wondered, we reached." In a world addicted to speed, Lucy asks us to slow down, to remember that some things are worth the wait, that beauty lies not just in answers, but in the quiet between them, that the universe doesn't reveal itself all at once, but slowly, gently, if we're patient enough to listen. So we wait, we watch, we hope. We picture that moment in 2027 when the first Trojan looms in Lucy's lens, its surface coming into focus, its secrets ready to be told. And for a breathless moment, humanity will stand still. Not because of fear, not because of war or tragedy, but because we are about to see something we've never seen before. And in that image, there will be no politics, no borders, just wonder, just a rock and a question and the long, beautiful silence between them. Lucy won't be the last mission to ask these questions. Others will follow, some with new instruments, some with new names, some with new destinations. But Lucy will always be the first to reach out to the Trojans, the first to touch these silent, ancient stones, the first to listen to what they remember, and maybe, just maybe, the first to remind us how precious it is to wonder.